Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Big Money Stylist podcast, episode number
127.
I just asked you that. I was 128 and you're all 127, and then right as you said that, I forgot again. Do you ever ask somebody a question and then you just don't listen to the answer?
Danielle,
I mean, I do that a lot, but do you do that ever?
You know what? I did it to Katie yesterday. She's literally talking to me. I'm looking her in the face.
And then you're like, wait.
And then she goes, you're not fucking listening to me. I go, yes, I am. She goes, what did I say? I go, you said, she goes, that's what I fucking thought.
Yeah. It's so baffling when you ask somebody a question, then you're like, where'd I go? Where did I go?
I don't know.
Why? Yeah.
Do you want to know what was really funny to me this morning? This morning you had asked me, you're like, I sent you an audio. And I'm like, hey, podcast today at this time.
Yeah.
And then you go, are we doing a podcast today? I'm like, yeah, waiting for an answer. And then the next message, wait, so are we doing a podcast? I was like, I don't think
you know
listening.
what? Is you talk so fast, and Voxer is an app that's like a walkie-talkie, you guys. It's amazing.
I told you not to play me at 4X.
No, but the thing is you talk so fast that you'll leave me like 6 messages, and then I'm like, and somehow I like miss one, and I don't know how I do that. And I just like start listening to when you pull up the app and it just kind of starts playing the next one, and then you're like, go back, Danielle, and I'm like, where am I going back to? So
I do that all the time. I'm like, you missed a message.
But do you know what, you guys? But Voxer, I really like. It's kind of like, it's a little bit chaotic, but I do like it literally for the 3x speed thing.
Yes.
Because like, I feel like sometimes text communication through staff is like, sometimes gets like lost in translation. And I'm big on just like audio, and like, it just comes across better.
Quick. Yeah, I can talk so much faster.
Yes, it's quick. And so we have my whole staff use it, and you can push it like faster, just like you can a podcast. And it's just like, get through this shit. Let's do this. So anyways.
I love when I see 6-minute ones from me. I'm like, oh man, even at 3X, we're still at 2 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
Here.
Don't you like look at one and it like stresses you out, and you're like, we're still going, and it's at 2 minutes.
Do you know what I do to Katie now? Because she'll send me.
My favorite is when someone's like, I'm just going to make this quick. And then you're like, that was 8 minutes.
That was 17 and a half minutes. What I've done to Katie now is, because she'll send me an audio, ask me like 5 questions. Mm-hmm. I'll send separate audios. Like I'll send one audio that's 30 seconds, and I'll say, this is to answer this question. This is for Academy Con, BMS
You're more
Con.
detailed than that. You're detailed. What I do on Voxer is I like to think out loud, and I'll literally be like 4 minutes in. I'm like, well, scratch that idea. I just answered my own questions. Thanks a lot. I don't even have the pro version, so I can't delete this message. So thank you, and have a great day.
And the worst is when I'm listening live and I'm like, I'm hearing Danielle spiral all the way down. What is happening?
I like to talk out my ideas, though. Don't you? How like in your head you're like, this is going to be so good, and then you say it out loud, and you're all,
You know what you should do? You should Voxer it to yourself, and if it's good, forward it to me.
Yes, I'll create my own Voxer chat, and I'm like, Danielle, no, that's weird. You're going to
This is Danielle to Danielle.
You know what? No, it's good, because I think what happens is you'll like translate and be like, Danielle, I'm hearing you, and I'm getting bits and pieces of it. What do you think of this? And then I'm like, that is good. So I think it's good anyway. So let's talk about our topic today.
Hey, this was an exciting week for us.
Oh my God. I felt like
this was an exciting week.
I felt like a human, not a human. I felt back.
Alive.
Like for like all of the artists that shut down, like we love hair so much, and I actually have not even been behind the chair this year except for education. Mm-hmm. And I love educating. Like it just feels like where I'm supposed to be right now. And we had our first class yesterday.
Yeah, there was 18 students. It was Danielle and myself. We had our model. It was just...
I was worried about how it would go
much.
because everyone was masked up, and literally we had these little shields, and I kept like joking around. I'm like, I look like I'm welding this hair into your head. But it was, I felt like
everyone was so good about it.
It wasn't weird. Like the energy was great. Like it was like a really good class. I say that every class, but in every class I'm like, this one's the best. But I think it's just because we love teaching. But no, it just feels like so good. With everything going on right now that's just like craziness, it was like a little bit of normalcy and excitement and just like doing what we love.
And I thought it was so cool that even though, yes, there's a pandemic, some people drove, some people flew, like these weren't just like in-town students.
Yeah.
Like they came from other states as well.
Right.
I think the farthest was Chicago and Illinois. So even from like the Midwest. But it was just so cool that everyone was so excited to just learn.
Yeah, so
just
excited.
learn and grow. And not only inside of the hair portion, but like the business portion as well. And they kept asking me questions. They're like, can we dive deeper into this? And I'm like, we literally don't have time. Like, like
Right.
those are things we cover in BMS Con or we cover in the Academy because it's so just detailed. I'm like,
it's so crazy because like everyone's like, oh, 2 days plus we do. It's like 6
It's
weeks.
4 weeks of
is it only
pre-training.
4? Okay, then it's 4 weeks of pre-training, and people are like, oh my god, I'm gonna get like so much out of this, and it's so funny. At the end of 2 days, I'm always like, I'm like, doesn't it fly by and you realize how intricate something is? It's like, and I always compare, like, I don't know why extensions are always taught in like an hour class or like an hour, like
even a day is just not enough.
It's not like, even like, that's why we created the Academy even is because it was like, hey, this is, I always tell people in my classes, it's like almost like an introduction. Do you have enough information to take it home and do it on your clients? Absolutely. But it's like, you need more. And I felt like in the beginning of my career, I would teach and then I was sharing this in the class and then like people would DM me or they email me and this, and it got to this point where I'm like, I can't answer everybody. And that really was the birth of Mastermind. And then it was the birth of the Academy because it's just for artists that are like, yes, I want to change my career. I want to change my life. I want to do all these things. And I'm like, perfect. Then here's a way for me to not like just be frustrated trying to answer every email and DM and like create it in a structured system that you guys can do.
And it literally doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like it just to be answering DMs and doing all this and that.
No.
And that's where I think it's one of the really hard things that we've always said is it comes like, because I know there are things that are like the popular methods or like the cool thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so
Popularity doesn't win. Results win.
It doesn't.
No.
And that's why we always even say like a one-off class doesn't work. And do you want to know one of the biggest compliments or like one of the things I was so stoked to hear in class? A few of the girls came up to me and they were like, I love how strict you are with rules. I was like,
I call you the class mom. Like literally, you'll be like, people will be like chatting to us. She's like, "Ha, ba, 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 ba." And I was like, I'm like, sorry, guys, respect the class mom, okay? We got it. You're here for a reason. We got to get through this. We got to get through this right now.
but when they said that to me, because I know I've been known as like the hard ass and like the mean one who's like so strict. But I was talking to some of the girls and I'm like, here's why. I'm like, we're all artists. And I know that artists without structure, without guidelines, without help
They're
and guidance,
chaos.
It's squirrel mode. And they were like, yes. And I was like, and I work with a squirrel, so I know how to wrangle squirrels in.
But it's a good balance though, because I feel like I'm like, I'll be like, I'll kind of make light of the situation and then you kind of keep it on track. So it's like a good balance between the two of us. But I can be very serious. I can be very like squirrel mode.
Yes, you can.
And then I drop right back into, I'm like, okay, what are you hearing? What are you learning? What are you focusing on? That kind of thing. So, and I think you can too, but I'm bad with, I'm not great with time.
And I'm
you
such
are
a stickler with time.
Like if I'm 1 minute late, Ani's like, you're late. I'm like, I'm on time. 1 minute? Come on.
And to me, 15 minutes early is anything after that, you're late.
I know. I'm usually like right on time or like just like 2 minutes late. But to me, it's like a 5 minute buffer. I'm like,
no.
Somewhere in there is on time. But yes.
Oh my God.
But you're a stickler, and that's good because I feel like being very conscientious of time, we have a lot to get through. So we literally have a clock up where we're like, okay, now we got to move on to this. Now we got to move on to this, because otherwise our students would leave frustrated and be like, we just worked on end beads for like half a day and I still feel like I'm lost. You know what I mean?
Or it sucks because then if you spend like too much time inside of beadwork, then you might miss out on the cut, the style, and the photo. And those are huge inside of NBR.
Right.
And that's why everything that we've done inside of our small classes, inside of BMS Con, which I'm so excited about, convention, and then even like inside of the Academy, it's been structured to help artists, whether they're all the time squirrel mode or they're the kind that love structure and thrive inside of it. I feel like it really caters to everyone, but in a way where they do get results.
Right. And what's so cool is like, I feel like it's like business consulting, but then we're like, here's a tool to plug it in. You can have really good business consulting, but if you don't have a specific tool, whether it's like
it's a niche.
It's a niche. You have to have like a niche within a niche within a niche. And it's funny because we even had like a curly hair girl that's like, I'm so excited to do curly NBR. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. For me, I'm more of like the bronze. I think that's because like what I have and the blondes and that kind of thing. But it's just, it's crazy. So you have the business marketing and the sales, and then you have a tool to plug in. And
I think, you know what's so interesting, because we have students before that, even one of the girls in our class, she's like, I just paid $6,000 for a business class.
Yeah.
And then still came out here because she was like, I don't know, like, and was just like confused.
Well, and what she had told me, she said it was only 3 months. And I was like, it's so funny because I felt like it was going to be hard to cram as much information as I wanted into a 1.5-year program, which is what DKW Styling Academy is. I literally was like, you want me to take 17 years of my experience and cram it into a 1.5 years? I'm like, okay. Like for me, I'm like, no, like and I feel like for me, I'm like, I can't expect, this is how we used to have in our mastermind. We had too much training. We expected our students to consume content almost every day.
It's too much.
It's too much. Let's like be real. Like I'm a mom, plus we know stylists work crazy hours behind the chair. So I wasn't setting them up to win. Like we were giving them too much content, and then we were like, we were wondering why it wasn't clicking. But then we found out, we're like, well, did you watch this? Well, did you watch this?
They're like, no, I haven't watched it in 2 months.
They didn't. And so I'm like, cool, then we need to slow it down, and we need to make it so that the stylists don't get overwhelmed. Even my daughter, who was in homeschool, she got so far behind that her brain, I'd be like, you need to catch up. You need to just start. And she would not start. Finally, this year ended, and you know what? She didn't finish all of her work. She literally like failed 7th grade.
Holy shit.
And I couldn't get her to snap out of it. I was like, oh my God. And I'm like emailing, and I'm like panicking to the teachers, and they finally were like, well, technically it doesn't count till high school. And they're like, but she's going to have a really hard time now going into 8th grade because she didn't like do the work. And I'm like, oh my God. But like even that, like if human nature, if we get overwhelmed, we're more likely not to even like start. So.
Well, and I feel like she most likely, because I feel like other artists have sent the same thing to me as well. Once you know you're behind, you don't see it as like, okay, I'll just knock out one thing at a time, one thing at a time. They see it as this whole big, grand, giant, massive fucking thing that all of a sudden they're like, I'm never going to get caught up.
Right.
I literally can't do it. And it's like, no, but you're making it worse by doing nothing. It's just going to keep piling on top.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But I even think too, like, that's why I'm so passionate about education, is because I know that I have a specific niche inside of my industry where I started to see results with myself, and I wanted to like make an impact on our industry. You know what I mean? Specifically women, specifically moms. But I just feel like, okay, I want you guys to win, and that just takes a lot more than a one-day class. And it frustrates me because I feel like, it's like, some people, we were asking in our class, I'm like, how many, because you're making the comparison of like, hey, you have to post every day, you have to be consistent with your marketing, like you just have to, and you never know how long's anybody been following you. And we made the comment like, hey, how long has everybody following you? Literally one girl was like 6 years. I was like, what the hell? She's like,
that's like the beginning of your brand.
I know. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad you came now, because I've learned a lot too in my career, and I'm sure she saw the progression in me and was finally like, fine, I'm going to take this class. And she's like, I kept bouncing around trying different systems, and she's like, and like it wasn't working. And I was like, I know, because it's not enough to do one day. I don't even call it a class. It's a demo.
It really is.
It's like a one-day demo where if you can't explain exactly why you're doing what you're doing, because a lot of artists get really good at something, and they don't know how to explain why they're
like,
good.
I don't know, you just do it.
They're like, you just put the beat on, and they're like, see, like this. And that doesn't help an artist. You literally have to be able to articulate so well and understand what you're doing in order to be a phenomenal educator.
Well, and we had even had a few of the girls in our class yesterday. They told us the same thing. They're like, they all had taken the same exact class, like before coming to NBR and whatever it was. And they were just like, I left and I tried to do it on my clients and it didn't make sense. And they go,
because it wasn't enough. They didn't learn enough.
Yeah. And they were saying, they're like, but now being here, we love the level of detail that's been put into it. And it's to the point where literally you can't ask us a question that we don't understand.
Right.
Because we've not only like do hair behind the chair. Obviously Danielle created it. I teach and train on it literally every day.
You helped me figure out why it was working though. Like I think for a solid year, you just studied me and how I did it. Like literally, it sounds weird because I was that person. Like I can say that, like I was that person. You were like, Danielle, see what you're doing? And I was like, oh my God. And it was just like, okay. So you helped me get really clear on how to verbiage and how to teach it.
Thanks.
But I was like, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and then even like when I would go do it on my clients, like, because we always say like, when you're in the salon, you're in artist mode, like don't be trainer. But I can't help it. Like even as I'm doing it, I'm constantly like watching my hands and my mannerisms. And I love detail. I love detail and small, tiny, intricate things.
What's so crazy, and going back to the students where we were just like asking like, how long have you been following? How long did you do this and this? And like just talking about like focusing on like their marketing and pushing it out there and focusing on the right numbers, right? Because that still happens to this day. Like, how often do we pick something because it's popular and then we're like, that's not really what I wanted. And so even with my students, I'm like, stop worrying about your following. I'm like, how much space, let's look at this. How much space do you have in your books right now? And some artists are like, oh man, I actually don't have any space. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of services are you offering? Well, I have kids cuts and this cuts and this, and I'm like, okay, well, first off, you need to focus on not building your popularity or your number. Yes, you need to do like your daily marketing, but how about you you figure out how to make space on your book so that you can attract the right clients. So if you want to specialize in something like extensions, it's pretty black and white. Like you make 17 times more than you would this woman's haircut. So don't you think that's the first thing to go? Like it's super logical, right? And I'm like, you need to focus on the right numbers and not just the numbers of popularity, but the numbers of what you're bringing in per service, per client, per hour, per dollar, per day. And when you start kind of going over that, it's pretty logical. It's pretty cut and dry. It's like, okay, so if you make certain moves on your business while continuing to do your daily marketing, it doesn't matter if your following goes up. Guess what goes up? Your fucking bank account goes up. So.
And that's what matters. But I think it's just an ego thing, but it really is because people love to see it. It's like
it's fulfilling. I mean,
pat on the back.
I get those likes and I'm like, yeah, woo, that one got so many likes. I'm feeling good about me today. You know what I mean? And I have to constantly remind myself, does this fucking matter? And it does matter. It does. The daily efforts matter.
It matters to clients when they see that you're consistent and they start to trust you.
Right.
But that's the thing. I even tell all the students, I built up my entire business, not here in California, but in Missouri. I had less than 1,400 followers, but I was making over 20 grand a month, working 12 days a month. I wasn't even working a full 2 weeks, and I had hit multiple 5 figures.
And it wasn't, how long did it take you to do that?
A year.
Yeah. And like
1 year.
A year, you're kind of like, whoa. But when you go from an artist, a typical artist who just gets started in the game, I mean, they're lucky to make like $3 grand a month. So you go to 3 to 20 in a year. I don't know any job in the fucking country that gives you that kind of pay raise. So
literally none.
You're welcome.
And you know what the fucking real cool thing is?
I sound like a dick when I say you're welcome. I just get real excited.
But here's the deal. Like, I always say I'm a product of your company, though. Like, I am. I wouldn't be where I am. And take away the fact that I'm a trainer, take away the fact that I'm in California. Like, even if you just go back to 2017, Ani back in Missouri, I still wouldn't have reached that place had I not started in BMS. Because doing pretty hair is one thing, but understanding how to market yourself, how to brand yourself, and how to reach the clients that are willing to pay you $3,000, that is a very, very, very different story.
It's so crazy because I'm like, they don't teach you any kind of that kind of foundation in hair school. You learn the skills and the techniques, and that's great. And I don't know why that most artists, because most of us are entrepreneurs. Very few, like let's say like 50% of our industry wants to go do their own thing, rent their own chair, be their own boss. Some want to do commission, and that's great, and whatever. My salon's a commission salon. But it's just crazy because it's like, what do you know about running a business? Like, we don't know anything. We were talking about this yesterday, and I'm guilty of it, and I wanted to bring it up. It's like, you said something when we were talking about pricing and going over numbers, and you're like, don't just charge whatever you think sounds good. Like, you're running a bit. What did you say?
I said you can't just pick a number out of a hat because it sounds good.
Yes. And how many artists are guilty of doing that? And I'm guilty of doing that in the past. And do you want to know why? It's because I'm constantly discounting things. Like, I'm like, I didn't charge you for a toner. I didn't charge you for this. Because in our industry, we charge by like a la carte. If we cut 4 hairs, we charge extra for 4 hairs. If we put a toner, we charge extra for a toner. If we do a bang trim, we charge extra for a bang trim. If we do 7 highlights versus 15 highlights. Holy fuck, why are we making this so difficult on ourselves?
It's so much.
And so then when we go to charge, we're like, damn it, I didn't charge her $45 for the 7 extra hairs and the toner.
And then here's what happens. The client's going to remember you didn't charge them that. And then the next time when you do charge them, they're going to be like, well, why is it another $50?
Yes, and then they don't trust you. And then you're kind of like, well, fuck, I can't charge her that. Maybe I'll just charge her $10 more instead of $40 because I didn't charge her there. Instead of just having a conversation with your client, like, I didn't charge you, my bad, not going to do it. Like, black and white, here's my prices. Because you got to build trust within your clients. And if you're just pulling a number out of your hat, the client's not going to trust you. And then we look like douchebags as artists. Like, we not douchebags. We just look, I'm still kind of fiery today.
You look irresponsible.
You don't look like
you don't know what you're doing.
You literally look like, your hair's pretty today, so you pay an extra $100. I'm sorry, that's not fair to anybody. Like,
it does not work, and it doesn't create a sustainable business.
It doesn't.
Or a sustainable plan that you don't burn out behind the chair.
No, and they don't teach us how to have these conversations with clients.
Do you know I actually got a DM from someone, and she's like, can you tell us, like, how do we even go about raising our prices?
I know.
And that is when I hear that, I'm like, and I tell people, I'm like, I raised my prices 3 times in 1 year. I raised them in May of 2016 when I came to BMS. I raised them 6 months later at the end of the year, and I raised them 6 months later right before I moved to California. By the time I moved here, I was charging the exact same prices as DKWY because I fucking could.
I see you as being somebody who can, like, be like, okay, and like have a conversation easier than others, to be honest with you.
I have learned that I think because I'm so small. So by the way,
small but mighty.
People told us we looked tall in the class. They thought we would be tall.
How funny is that? We're like getting pictures in the end, and I was like, I've never felt so small in my life.
This is the tallest. I think
it was the
tallest class. Either they were huge or tiny. Because I'm 5'1", you're 5'3".
They were like teenies like us, or they were literally like 5'7" and above. I was like,
there was a girl wearing heels, and she was still shorter, and I wanted to be like,
I know. I go, I feel so tall. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's fuck. What was I saying?
I don't know.
Go. No.
You had a moment.
No.
You asked me last week.
I was talking about the class. Fuck.
Missouri.
Here's what it is. Because I'm so short, so I'm 5'1", I'm like 100 pounds, and honestly,
tall but mighty.
Yeah, and even like if you take away my tattoos and I'm not wearing makeup, I look really, really young. Even though I'm 30, I look so much younger, and I feel because
30
of
is
that,
young. I just want to let you know, 30 is young.
Okay. I look younger than 30. Don't worry, 40 is still young too.
40. I just turned 37.
She says such in your face. I'm gonna give you a complex. You're gonna be like, great, now I need Botox.
I just got it last night. Thank you. Actually,
I know.
Okay.
I saw your post with Dr. Steph. So
anyway,
but even I feel like I look so young that it's almost like disarming to people. Like they don't
expect you to be so assertive and professional. They expect you to be like
I'm
a dumb 20-year-old.
every single
You're
time.
a hairdresser. You're a woman. You look young. Like, I'm sorry. So when you come out like smart, like carry yourself well, they're kind of like, oh, here's what's so funny. Garrett and I were having this conversation, and I was like, hairdressers are crazy, and it's hard when you're a woman and a hairdresser and all this. And he goes, yeah, but how did you like rise above that, Danielle? And I was like, because I stopped being just a hairdresser and I became a businesswoman, and I started making money. And he's like, and what did you earn with money? I was like, fucking respect.
Yes.
And it's like, so if you want respect as a hairdresser, then you got to be a businesswoman and you got to be successful. That's like that's
and
like
you
how
just
you
have
do
to
it.
be okay with those hard conversations. What I was saying is because I look this way, when I start speaking to people, I'm like, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what it is, da-da-da. And I just say it with a smile. Even if I'm mad on the inside or stressed out, it doesn't matter. I always smile when I say things, and that just disarms people.
Yeah.
But I also know I'm not going to be walked all over. Look,
You're stern but cheery.
Thank you. I appreciate that's
stern and cheery.
Thank you. Well, we even like there's a client at DKW. She's a rough one, man. She is rough. Honestly, she's just mean. I'll tell you who she is later. She's not the nicest client we've ever had, and she's honestly kind of a dick to everybody except for me.
Really?
Because she knows
she respects you. She knows you'll be like, no, I'm not going to put up with that.
Literally, and that's why she's back on my books like forever now, and which is totally fine. I don't have a problem with her.
I've had clients like that, and people get really nervous, and I'm like, you guys, it's not a big deal, but it's like they want like the best of the best of the best, and like they scare people. But you and I are like not stronger personalities, but we hold our own really well. So people like they respect that, and they're just like, okay, there's like a trust in that.
Absolutely. So I don't care if you drop me in a room with all of the warriors, or I'm in a room with brand new hairstyles. Like it doesn't matter. And I had to learn to just be confident. Like I'm just me. Yeah. I'm me. That's all that I can be. Right. If it's enough, great. If it's not, I don't know if I can tell you at that point, man.
Right. It's just kind of like, But it's so funny because I always tell hairdressers too. I'm like, hey, focus on the right numbers and stay in your own lane. Because I think we worry, and as women, I can say that because I'm a woman, like I think we worry about problems that are like 10 steps down the road. And you're like, why are you worrying about that? And we talk about that all the time. We're like, worry about where you're at right now and stay in your own lane. Like I hear this all the time when people like come to my classes and they're like, oh my God, but someone down the street or somebody in my salon spa studio or somebody in this, they're offering a different method or they're offering the same method or da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, so, and my answer is always the same. How about you focus on you and you talk about, put a row in your hair. The best way to sell something is like,
wear it,
right? If you're wearing clothes, wear it. If you're wearing hair, wear it. It's as simple as that because you know how it feels, you know how it wears, you know how to educate the client on it. And so I was like, put a row in your hair. Don't ever like bash anybody else or whatever. Let them do what they want. In fact, if somebody comes and asks you about that, deflect from that by talking about why you're passionate about MBR, why you love it in your hair.
You don't have to knock something else down to promote yourself.
No.
But I feel like that's human nature.
Totally.
To be, if honestly, like if a woman is a little bit overweight and she sees someone who's skinny, she'll be like, oh, I bet you she doesn't eat. Why not just be like, hey, fucking good for you?
Yeah, good for you. Well, and then what's crazy too is we do all of our consultations over the phone. Mm-hmm. And I like to know everybody's hair history. And so the first thing I ask them is, what kind of extensions have you experienced? And I let them just talk. I just let them talk and share, and I don't say anything. At that point, I'm not trying to like sell them on anything. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
I'm just like trying to figure out their hair history. And then I'm like, oh, and the only thing I'll say is like, oh, yes, I've tried those. Okay, I totally understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. That's all I say. And And then I'm like, but let me tell you the difference of MBR and let me tell you why it works. And it builds trust and it makes you look like the professional.
And because if you talk shit, you look like an asshole. Like you just do.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of my biggest pet peeves ever, every single time we have a class, they go, like, even if it comes down to like sectioning NBR, because whether it's 1 row, 1 in a mini, 2 in a mini, or 3 rows, there's very, very particular sectioning that goes along with it, especially with like density and texture, whatever. But with that, they always go, I'm like, oh, this is too straight here. It's too steep here. And they're like, yeah, but I follow this girl and I saw her sectioning and she posted a photo. And I'm like, stop looking at everybody else's work. Stop looking at work because depending on the client's head shape, how big or teeny tiny their noggin is, depending on the angle that the photo was taken, is the client looking down? Is the client looking up? It looks so different every time. I'm like, you have to stop focusing on what everybody else is doing. What I'm telling you now is you here in front of me with your mannequin, this is too steep or it's sitting too low or you squared it off too much. Like, and every time I hear that, they're like, yeah, but I'm like, no buts. No, just hear, listen to what I'm saying because I'm here to help you. Right. Like, and that's one of the biggest things.
I think if you stay in your own lane, you're genuinely like a happier person. I know that like it sounds crazy, but
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't sound crazy at all. Like you can't let what other people are doing like pull you down from what you feel like you should be doing. That's all I'm saying. Like, and you know what? I can take responsibility and say, you know what? I'm just triggered. Like that's on me. It's not even about them. It's on me. So instead of just feeling triggered or feeling that way, I just am like, can I focus on right now that I know I need to do? And I just feel like that's,
you know what? Some days if something triggers me, especially if it's online or social media or whatever it is, I take a moment and I'm like, okay, it's my own personal come to Jesus moment. Why am I feeling triggered? If it was that someone is, I don't know, I feel like I don't get triggered very often anymore, but whatever it is, if someone's beautiful work and they wrote something, whatever it is, and I'm like, am I jealous? Am I envious that I feel like their work is better than mine? Or I can't get that curl or I couldn't get them that blonde? Do I not feel as skinny as her? Do I feel like her style's better than mine? Yeah. Like, is there something that I could do not to be like this person, but to better myself, me, so that I am more confident inside of my own skin? So I'm then less triggered by things on the outside.
Yeah.
And I feel like, with BMS and everything we teach, like, yes, we teach MBR and like, yes, we teach the business, but we also focus so much on like the life aspect that me now training other people and implementing all the tools that we teach our students inside convention and inside of the academy, it's made literally me just a better person.
But it's like more fulfilling. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's why it's like, I mean, yes, I do social media and I'm in the know with things and that kind of thing. And I very rarely get triggered unless somebody says a negative comment and I'm like, you're a dick. I usually just delete it because I'm like, don't pretend like you know me.
I don't have time to respond.
I don't have time. Yeah, it's more like I don't want it to suck me down a rabbit hole, and I have to really value where I put my time. So I would tell every single one of you right now, where is your time most valuable right now? Not for everybody around you, for you, for your family, for your team members. Where is your time most valuable right now? So,
well, and even we hear artists say, they're like, oh, well, I don't have time to like meditate. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to meal prep. And I'm like, with all due respect, I follow you on social media and you're posting a news story every 15 fucking seconds and a picture every 3 hours. So if you took all of that time, because I know you're spending time fucking scrolling, and put that time, attention, and focus into something that actually serves you, like the people that they're like, ooh, I hate that brand. I was Googling them. I'm like, what? If you don't even fucking like it, why are you Googling it? Like,
don't.
Why are you investing more of your limited space, time, and energy into something that you don't even like?
Yeah, if you have very little time, like, why don't you put it forth like doing something productive? Exactly.
It's like, I hate peanut butter. I'm not going to go to the grocery store and stand in front of the peanut butter and send pictures and be like, ew, do you guys see how gross this peanut butter is? I don't like it. I don't even go down the aisle. Who cares?
I find too, like, I'm pretty busy. Like, I was looking at my life yesterday and I was like, I have a baby. I got up at 6 with my baby. I worked out with my trainer at 7. I had a class at 9. I went and got Botox at 7. I went out for a friend's birthday at 8. I didn't drink, by the way, because I was like, I got to get up the next morning. I got up this morning, did my, like, that's my day. Like, it's just like, I don't have time to be sucked down anything that I feel like doesn't give me like the best energy for my class or the best energy for my kids or whatever it is. But yeah, I just think that's like one of the things we like to teach inside of BMS is like, we want you to love your business and we want you to have a good quality of life. So I just
well, even what I told the students when we were talking about the academy, I guess a couple days ago now, that was already 2 days ago.
I know. I was like, was that yesterday?
Yesterday, this morning. But even then I told them, I said, said, this is because artists are known for doing so much hair and spending so much time behind the chair, but making very little money. I'm like, so you guys taking all that time doing low valued services where you're not making money to then flip it to do the same thing, do NBR 6-7 days a week, and now you're paid a shit ton of money. I told them, I go, that's not good enough for me. You being a high paid stylist, but you're still exhausted, you're tired, you're not investing in your kids, you're not going to the soccer games, you haven't been on a date night, you're still not going on vacation, even though you're making multiple 5 figures a month. I'm like, that's not the life I want for you, and that's not what I'm taking a stand for. I'm like, I will be here to take a stand for you and with you, because I also can't do it for you, for that life. I'm like, it's that dream life where you sit there and you're like, man, if only. That thing that seems like so fucking far away, I'm like, that's what I'm taking a stand for. And the reason I'm so passionate about that is because that's, I feel, what my life turned into. Before I even started BMS, all I wanted to do was step foot in California. I just wanted to like visit. And now I wake up and I'm like, every day I'm like,
and you're moving this weekend.
And I'm moving in 2 days. I'm moving into a house. But then it's like, how is this really, this is my life? Oh, fuck, this is my view every day? Like, this is normal.
I think one of the problems is artists focus on like scaling to the wrong number, right? They're like, they want to, and even I'm like, okay, I have my salon and things like that, but I have to figure out what's most profitable. Otherwise, like, there was a point in my salon where I was like, burn it, go ahead and light a match, throw it in there, I'm done.
Fuck it.
Fuck that. But I was like, no, because I am so passionate about education and a lot of our students are salon owners. I was like, no. I was like more committed. When somebody's like, you can't, I'm like, watch me,
motherfucker.
Watch me. And so I was like, cool. So I went through some crazy bumpy shit, and now I'm like turning, like, it's just crazy. And I was like, I will figure this out. And now I feel like my salon's in like a really good rhythm, right?
It's in such a good place.
It's in such a good place. And that brings me on to like one more topic that I want to talk about really, really quick. And we always say, if you guys have any questions or scenarios or whatever, DM, email us, whatever it is, we can take like a brief minute or two and just discuss it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have you bring it up.
Oh, man. Okay. So I got a DM from someone, I won't say where, won't say who. And basically the artist said like, hey, I have a salon and I have stylists in my salon that have been there for a long time. One in particular, as much as like 6 years, she's been in the salon. She goes, everybody's been on unemployment because of coronavirus. We've been out for over 2 months and we're finally able to go back soon. And with that, the owner was looking at the staff and really realized that this particular stylist, we're going to call her Sally because I don't know her name, but that Sally was just not really being a team player. She wasn't saying hi to people. She wasn't saying bye to people. Just a lot of negativity and almost like going against what was happening inside of the salon all the time. So the owner decided when everybody came back on board, she's like, I didn't rehire this stylist. I just felt like it just didn't fit with what we're doing and where we're going. That stylist now left. Apparently her husband called, said a lot of belligerent, slightly crazy things, which I'll address that a different day. And now the stylist is on social media. She's writing a lot of nasty shit. And now even like other artists who had left the salon on really great terms, they're now DMing the owner and they're like, hey, what the hell? She was loyal. Like, how could you do this to her? And the owner's like, how do I even get everybody to understand and just be on the same page? Like, what the fuck?
So
my words, not hers.
This story, we've only heard the one side of the story, correct? So I kind of try to take like a neutral space with it. And here's what I can tell you as a salon owner. I've had people leave on good terms and I've had people leave on bad terms. And the people that I had leave on not so good terms, I sucked at communicating. My husband was more involved than me and he was the one that let him go. And I should have been the one to like have the conversations and I didn't, right? Could it have ended smoother? Maybe. But I had another employee where I felt like it ended super smooth. Like this particular person was not right for my business. I saw multiple things that kept stacking up that I was like, oh, I like this person, so I'm going to let it go. I like this person, so I'm going to let it go. And finally got to a place where I was like, it's just not fair. It's not even personal, it's business. Because obviously I was letting personal keep that person there. And I was like, I can't. And so I brought them in and I said, I love you. I'm not going to sit here and give you a running list. Because at that point I felt like I had already been like, hey, like,
come on.
Okay, you're still doing this. You're still doing this. And it kept having, and so I was like, I'm not, you're not hearing what I'm saying, and that's fine, but I have to make a decision that's right for my business, right? I called him in. I was just like, hey, it's your time to go. I just want you to know I appreciate you as a person, like whatever, okay? And then I had another, and he was like, anyways, I had another artist go, and I felt like things ended good. I was like, I wish you guys the best. Like, I still to this day have no issues with
no hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
Because it's not personal.
Yeah, and I felt like I ended it really good, but my point saying is like, over time, this person, even though I felt like we left on good terms, like became like not so friendly, like didn't really enjoy me either.
Is embittered a good word?
Sure. I don't know. And I was just like, God, that hurts me a little bit, because I felt like I didn't leave on bad terms. I felt like actually you were the one in the end that said you wanted to go, and I was like, cool, whatever.
I support you in that.
I support you in that. And so anyways, I just think things like get weird when you're like in a relationship with somebody and you decide to split. It's like having a marriage, and then
it really is.
Like you can say you're cool with that person. You're like, no, we're good, but you're still kind of like, there's still some weirdness in it.
Well, and
you know
here's
what I mean?
my thing. One thing that I've always learned is when you're hiding things or keeping things a secret, that's when that to me allows the space for there to be gossip and assumptions. So when anybody has ever left the staff at DKW, it's not that we have a team meeting to be like, let's talk some shit. We're like, here's the reality of what happened. Here's why this person was let go, or here's why this person chose to leave. Right. Whether it's on good or bad terms, because we've been pretty honest about everything that's ever happened, but I feel this might be causing a shitstorm for this particular salon owner because there's no communication.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it always comes down to lack of communication. Even I thought my communication was so solid, and I felt like I kept coming back and saying like, we need to fix this, or we need to do this, or we need to do this, and I kept seeing little things where it was like a problem. Now that's actually kind of one of the reasons that birthed our 3-strike policy. We have warnings now. You get a write-up. It's not just like, hey, I'm gonna have another conversation with you. It's like, my salon manager is like, hey, you're doing this. I'm going to write you up. I know we already talked about it, because it was the only thing I could think of that would change people's behaviors. I'm like, it's just...
Well, because now it's not just like, my girlfriend Danielle told me I should stop this, but we're friends, so it's fine. So, no. It
doesn't work that way. Well, and when I hear situations like this, again, I don't know both sides of the story. So I'm kind of like, whenever something goes sideways in my business, and I get it, you're going to have some crazy ass people that work for you, that you have clients that you're just like, that probably shouldn't, you probably should have let go a long time ago, right? Like that just happens in any industry. But in the end, if I want to become a better business owner, I have to ask myself, well, how do I not get in this situation again?
And really, what part did you play? And you have to hold yourself accountable, because it's very easy to point the finger and be like, that bitch is crazy. She's negative. She's this. She's that. Okay, yeah, but what part are you also playing in that? Do you feel like she comes in and doesn't say hi, so now you're avoiding her back? So now all of a sudden she's like, well, and maybe she was just busy. There's a girl at DKW, one of our assistants. She thought I hated her for the first 3 months because I don't hear the tone of her voice very well.
Yes,
and when she talks to you, she speaks towards the wall. So not only does the sound literally not reach me, she just thought I didn't fucking like her until one day I'm like, I can't hear you. And she was like, I thought you were ignoring me. Maybe that's something that happened. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like anything can spiral.
And I genuinely believe that, like, when we get to this place where we're like, you're done, there's probably there's little things that we didn't notice in the past, and then it's like true colors show up when the pressure's on, such as like COVID, when all the salons are closed and like everybody's going a little bit stir crazy kind of thing. It's like you're kind of like, oh, true colors just kind of showed up a little bit, but there might have been behaviors of that in the past that you kind of overlooked. You know what I mean?
And I'll use one of our academy girls as an example. She came to me and she's like, I want to talk to my salon owner. She's not fucking doing anything. She's not helping. She's making it worse. And I go, cool. How are you showing up for her? Are you attacking her? Are you rallying everybody on your side? I'm like, have you actually taken a seat to think about where she is at, keeping this place of business that you are working in open, and the amount of stress that she might have? So maybe that's why she doesn't seem so fucking friendly right now, because she's stressed and overwhelmed. Yeah. Maybe.
And nobody can understand a business owner. Like, I will say that.
If you're not a business owner, you don't get it.
Or a salon owner. Yeah. Like, you just don't get it. Like, I got my ass handed to me my first year I opened, like, literally. Like, so now when I, like, see a salon owner, I'm like, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
We're going to do this.
And that's even why I told the stylist, I said, instead of sitting here and pointing the finger at that salon owner, I said, you need to take a look at you. I go, you're spicy. You're a little bit aggressive. I get it. You're kind of my personality, but your tone, even though you mean well, comes off really fucking shitty. And I'm just being honest with you. And I told her, I was like, it comes off fucking rude. And she's like, I know. And I go, cool. I go, then you now need to work on you and take a step back. Look at the interactions that you've had with her. Are you showing up as a team player, or are you showing up ready to go to fucking war?
Yeah.
Because if you're showing up ready to go to war and fucking hit her and throw down and yell and scream, you're right. She's not going to listen to a goddamn word you have to say.
So I'm going to share one more story back to kind of like relaying to this girl's story where she's like, what do I do? Because now Crazy Sally and her husband, and they're posting shit on social media. That's fucking lame. Like, I hate when people do that. Like, to me, I'm like, who takes time out of their day to do that? Stay in your own goddamn lane. Like, come on. So I get it. Like,
it's annoying.
That frustrates me so much. I don't care what terms you leave in. Like, come on, like, stay in your own lane. But I will say, this is a hard lesson that I learned like early on is I have this policy of like refund and be done. And this is like a story that's relies on or pertains to a client. But I remember I had one girl that came in, she had like a ton of damage. Like literally when she showed me befores of her hair, I felt like she like angled it so it like was deceiving. And
Let it be known that was not from NBR.
Yeah, no. So like anyways, I did the consultation and she seemed normal and I was like, yeah, I think I can help you. When she came in, I kid you not, I lifted up her hair. I was like, oh, I was like, I should have just said, hey, I'm going to refund you your deposit. Thanks. I can't do this. But I was like, I kind of went in savior mode and I was like, oh, her hair's so bad. I'm like, okay, well, we can probably do this. But at the same time, I went into savior mode, but I should have recommended like less hair and different placement and that kind of thing. Anyways, but she wanted long ass 22s and I wanted to make her happy. And anyway, this was a while ago. I ended up doing her hair. I thought it looked really good considering what she had. I said, like, be super careful. These are heavy. Like, let me know if you have any problems. Anyways, a few days later, her hair's all ratted up and crazy and messy and it's like falling out. And she's like, I want a full refund. Da, 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 da. This hair's garbage. And I'm like, it's only been like a week. And I'm like, and she was just like, came at me like straight up rude. And I was really triggered and really irritated. Anyways, I kind of just like went back and forth with her. And I ended up being like, cool, I'll give you a refund just for the hair. Like the service was like $2,000 or $3,000. I can't remember. And I was like, I'll give you $500 back just for the hair. I'm not going to refund you for the service. And this girl was like, I don't need your money. And I was like, okay.
Well, you sure were asking for
it back. I was like, okay, I felt like that was fair. Like whatever. And I just kind of like ignored her and I just was like, whatever, you're crazy. And then she literally went on every social media platform, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, so like everything you could think, Yelp, like not one Yelp, like 17 Yelp, created a fake DKW account. I'm like, why do people have time to do this? and then she like blamed me and the hair. And I was like, girl, chick, like you came in bald. Anyway, so my point, and I know we're getting close to ending the show. My point in this story is like sometimes you have to when a story gets heated, you're like, how can I just get this person to like move on, right? And I don't know what your contracts are inside your salon with your artists and things like that, but for me, I look at the situation from that particular client, like I wish I would have just refunded her the full amount.
And it might be, look, instead of going this massive fucking back and forth through emails and then her husband, which to me, that's weird, but whatever. Right. I don't know.
But contracts, I have to say this too really fast before you go on. Contracts, this birthed a more extensive contract at DKW as well as better consultations. So that's why I'm always like, you have to go back and say, what can I learn from this situation? Refund and be done. Great. She's crazy. Fuck her, whatever. But now how can I make better contracts? How can I communicate better? Whatever the situation is, so this doesn't happen again, because then you'll remember her as the biggest fucking learning lesson of your life. But you'll also thank her because you created X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And so when it comes to the actual stylist that you're facing, instead of doing this texting back and forth and emailing back and forth and calling back and forth, sit and have a face-to-face conversation.
Yep.
Seriously, like a face-to-face, but also to the salon owner, check yourself. Check yourself. Think about what you want the outcome to be and act and show up accordingly. If you want things to go smoothly, you can't show up like you're in the fucking desert or whatever going to war. No. Show up with an intent that leads to the result that you actually want.
Which might require you to invite her and her husband in and sit there and just listen. just listen for a good 10 minutes.
And say nothing.
And say nothing. Don't defend yourself. Just sit there and listen.
And my big thing is do not listen to respond. Just listen. Don't in your head be like, ooh, this fucking bitch, I'm making a mental note. I'm going to say this to her. I'm going to say this, because now you're missing the point. She might just feel not heard or misunderstood, or maybe something happened that you didn't know about. So we don't know the full story.
We don't.
What we know is from our own personal experience, have a conversation, real face-to-face
And everything we're saying, if you're like so angry, you're so mad, but I don't want you to miss what we're saying, because we're genuinely trying to help, because we've gone through some crazy situations ourselves. So
that was a fun one.
That was fun. Okay, this was a little bit longer one. I hope you guys enjoy our podcast every week. We are hairstylists. Again, we speak directly to hairstylists. But I've had a lot of men, women, entrepreneurs that say they genuinely enjoy our topics every week. So you can tune in every Tuesday to the Big Money Stylist podcast. November, what are the dates?
November 2, 3, and 4 is BMS convention number 5. That's where we actually dive into, there's 3-4 months of pre-training and then 3 full days where we dive into not only NBR and natural beaded rows, but also BMS, which is the business, marketing, and sales. Guys, we, for the first time ever, are doing early access tickets.
I know.
You
get better pricing too. So,
and guys, we're not talking. It's like, oh, it's a couple $100. No, it is significantly
it's a good chunk. And
less.
I wanted to do that just because all the artists are just getting back into their salon and that kind of thing, and I don't want it to feel like such a gouge, because I know my expenses, my events are probably the priciest in the industry right now,
most likely. So, but if you're interested in this, go to bigmoneystylist.com and go through, enter your email. You'll be on the wait list. You'll be getting all of our emails. We're even doing education from inside of the academy. We've been emailing out to our wait list, so you will not want to miss this. It's going to be the best year yet.
Go to bigmoneystylist.com. You can get on the early access list. Again, the event is not until November, but we're going to start selling tickets in like 19 days, because we have 4 months of pre-training for this event. This is your next opportunity to take a class with Natural Beaded Rows. We do not have any small classes available until then for the public. So
and there might not be any more for the rest of the year. So if you've been wanting to learn NBR,
this is your shot.
This is literally your chance.
So people keep asking me, and I'm like, and then it's so funny because our events sell so crazy quick, and they're like, I didn't get in. I'm like, how did you not get in? I was literally like talking about it every week.
4 people in our class. They were like, I've been waiting to get in. I missed my shot.
Yes, so do not miss your shot. We're going to be talking about it every week until tickets go on sale. And thank you guys so much for listening. We hope we add a ton of value, because we genuinely love you guys and we love what we do. So we'll see you next week on another episode of the Big Money Stylist podcast.